Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Ram. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachariti Yamuna Tira Vanachariti Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Pravi Jagracharya Asatosa the Shishimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Kota Vaishnavanda Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prem Sikha Hosha Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopya Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Ki Jai, Shri Maya Parnavidam Ki Jai, Gangamaya Ki Jai, Jamunamaya Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, all glorious summer devotees, all glorious summer devotees, all glorious summer devotees, all glorious Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 12, Text number 11. Jnanam Vasudhang Paramartham Ekam Anantarang Tvabhir Brahma Satyam Pratyak Prashantang Bhagavat Chabda Sangyang Yad Vasudevang Kavayo Varanti Jnanam Vasudhang Paramartham Ekam Anantarang Dvavavir Brahma Satyam Pratyag Prashantam Bhagavat Chabda Sangyang Yadvasudevang Kavayo Varanti Jnanam Vasudhang Paramartham Ekam Anantarang Dvavavir Brahma Satyam Pratyak Prashantang Bhagavat Shabda Sangyang Yadvasudevang Kavayo Varanti Jnanam Vasudhang Paramartham Etyam Arantarang Dhavabir Brahma Satyam Pajak Prashantang Bhagavat Shabda Sangyang Yadvasadevam Kavayo Vadanti. Jnanam, the supreme knowledge. Visuddham, without contamination. Parama artham, given the ultimate goal of life. Ekam, unified. Anantaram, without interior, unbroken. Two, also. Abhi, without exterior. Brahma, the supreme. Satyam, absolute truth. Pratyak, inner. Prashantam, the calm and peaceful Supreme Lord, worshipped by the yogis. Bhagavat Shabda Sangyam, known in the higher sense as Bhagavan, or full of all opulences. Yat, that. Vasudevam, Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Kavaya, the learned scholars. Vadanti, say. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki. What, then, is the ultimate truth? The answer is that non-dual knowledge is the ultimate truth. It is devoid of the contamination of material qualities. It gives us liberation. It is the one without a second, all-pervading and beyond imagination. The first realization of that knowledge is Brahman. Then Paramatma, the Supersoul, is realized by the yogis who try to see him without grievance. This is the second stage of realization. Finally, full realization of the same supreme knowledge is realized in the Supreme Person. All learned scholars describe the Supreme Person as Vasudeva, the cause of Brahman, Paramatma, and others. Purport. In Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Yad Advaitam Brahmo Panisad the Tad Ap Yasya Tanubha. The impersonal Brahman effulgence of the Absolute Truth consists of the bodily rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yat Atmanantaryami Purusha iti so syamsa vibhava. What is known as Atma and Antaryami, the Supersoul, is but an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sad Aisvarya Purno Ya Ihya Bhagavan Svayam Ayam. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 1:3. What is described as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, complete with all six opulences, is Vasudeva. and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from him. Great learned scholars and philosophers accept this after many, many births. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudolava, Bhagavad Gita 7:19. The wise man can understand that ultimately Vasudeva Krishna is the cause of Brahman and Paramatma, the Supersoul. Thus Vasudeva is Sarva Karana Karanam, Brahma Samhita 5.1. The cause of all causes. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. The real tattva, absolute truth, is Bhagavan. But due to the incomplete realization of the absolute truth, people sometimes describe the same Vishnu as impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma. Baranti tattvavedas tattvam jnanam advayam prameti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sabjate. Bhagavatam. That's a Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11. From the very beginning, Srimad Bhagavatam says, Satyam Param Dhimahi. We meditate on the Supreme Truth. The Supreme Truth is explained here as Jnanam Vishudham Satyam. The Absolute Truth is devoid of material contamination and is transcendental to the material qualities. It gives all spiritual success and liberation from this material world. That Supreme Absolute Truth is Krishna, Vasudeva. There is no difference between Krishna's inner self and outward body. Krishna is Purna, the complete whole. There is no distinction between his body and soul as there is between ours. Sometimes so-called scholars, not knowing the constitutional position of Krishna, mislead people by saying that the Krishna within is different from the Krishna without. When Krishna says, Manmana bhava madbhakto madjajimam namaskuru, so-called scholars advise the reader that it is not the person Krishna to whom we must surrender, but to the Krishna within. So-called scholars, Mayavadis, cannot understand Krishna with their poor fund of knowledge. One should therefore approach an authorized person to understand Krishna. The spiritual master has actually seen Krishna, therefore he can explain him properly. Tadvati panipatinam paripasnena sevaya upadikshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshanaha. Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Without approaching an authorized person, one cannot understand Krishna. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshum Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukaram Kotavatalam Pangundang Hayate Gurim Yat Kripa Talaham Bande Shikarum Dyanataranam Vanchakalpachibhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanevyo Vaisnavevyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The first word in this verse is Jnanam, knowledge, the supreme knowledge. Excuse me. And in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter, there's this chapter called Transcendental Knowledge. And there Krishna says, Evaya Maya Tedya. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend. Therefore you're able to understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So to understand Krishna is not an easy thing. And in this verse, Krishna, he says that it's by devotion by which we can understand Krishna. And from this devotion, then other relationships come. It's like Arjuna is the friend of Krishna. Now generally, knowledge is given to brahmanas. But Arjuna, he wasn't a brahmana. He was a kshatriya. But because he was so devoted to Krishna and he was a friend Therefore Krishna, he spoke to him the great wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. And because Arjuna was so devoted, he understood the mystery of devotional service. He understood the mystery of Krishna. Not an easy thing. Actually, no one can understand Krishna completely. Even Krishna, he doesn't understand himself completely because he's always expanding. He's inconceivable. Sometimes people can't understand certain aspects of Krishna. And therefore, one of his names is Achintya. So some things we can't understand about Krishna. He's much greater than ourselves. He's inconceivably great. And so many aspects of his personality are inconceivable. So, as one devotee said, some of these things that we find to be inconceivable, you just put them in the file, the inconceivable file. Don't try to understand Krishna completely, because we'll be a little flustered. So, and Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Mam Abhijanati, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of him through such devotion, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So this is the key for understanding Krishna, is service to Krishna. And how does that service begin? Ata Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhaved Grayamanda Sevan Mukhi Jivadal Swayameva Spratyada. It begins with the tongue. We can't understand Krishna with our blunt material senses. But Krishna, upon being pleased by our service, he reveals himself. It begins, it's amazing, it begins with the tongue. Generally you'd think that it would be something a little more, what's the word? Practical. But to take prasadam, this is very purifying. Prabhupada called this process kitchen religion. Kitchen religion. And he had these, in the beginning days, Prabhupada, he made these ISKCON bullets, glubjaments. I can't imagine how good those must have been, but Prabhupada was such a good cook. So he would have these gludgements there on the table. Anybody want, they could come and they could take. ISKCON bullets. ISKCON bullets kill the Maya. They kill the Maya. And Prabhupada, he was cooking all this nice preparations for all the devotees. And I remember I was reading one pastime in one of the Leela books, and one person said, "Man, this person, he could cook." You can't imagine. Actually, there was one devotee asked Prabhupada, "Who's the best cook in ISKCON?" Prabhupada said, "I am." Yamuna was good, but she learned, she learned from Prabhupada. Of course, from others also. But Prabhupada was her first teacher. So taking Krishna prasadam and speaking the philosophy and chanting the names of Krishna. So to chant the names of Krishna, to repeat the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, this is very purifying, and this helps us to grow in our journey back to Krishna. So to take Krishna prasadam, not just generally before we join, we just chow down, eat it, but this is honoring. We honor Krishna prasadam. It's Krishna. So we honor, we respect Krishna prasadam. So Prabhupada, when he would honor prasadam, it was like that. He would honor, and sometimes devotees would want to be in the room when Prabhupada was eating, because generally, like 99% of the time, Prabhupada would eat alone. It was service. He was honoring Krishna Prasadam. So devotees would they'd bring in the Prasadam, and then they would leave. But there was one time a devotee, he wanted to be in the room when Prabhupada was honoring Prasadam. So he set the plate down in front of Prabhupada, and then he got up and walked towards the door, and then he paid obeisances, and he stayed there. And Prabhupada looked up and said, "Yes?" "Oh, it's okay, Prabhupada." Like, what do you want? So then he got up and left. So Prabhupada, he relished serving Krishna in the form of honoring Krishna Prasadam. It's something we could learn from. We're learning so much from Srila Prabhupada, even how to eat, how to honor Krishna Prasadam, what to speak of how to speak. Oh my God, Prabhupada is this. Whew. So much wisdom given to us by Srila Prabhupada. Thousands of lectures. I mean, he really came and gave mercy to the people of this planet. I mean, imagine if we had the lectures of Rupa Goswami or Sanatana Goswami or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or Jesus Christ. Imagine if we had the lectures of these great personalities, how much we would be eager to hear. But we've had, Prabhupada's lectures or so. Sometimes we get a little familiar with it. Yeah, I've heard those before. But just like the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is all timeless wisdom. You could read it over and over and over again. So similarly with Srila Prabhupada's lectures, you can hear them over and over and over again. They don't get old because they're absolute knowledge given to us by Srila Prabhupada. So we should take advantage of this great wisdom that's given to us by Srila Prabhupada. And in the same chapter, Krishna, he says, Nahi jnanena sadrasam pavitram iha vidyate tat swayam yoga sangsita kalinanya vindati. That there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. And when one has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service, one enjoys this knowledge within. Yeah. So this knowledge is actually very enjoyable. Just hearing this knowledge it gives such pleasure to the heart. I remember before I joined, we were all in school, and most of the knowledge we're learning is just boring. You got to do it to pass. Isn't it just boring? But transcendental knowledge, it's invigorating, it's enlivening. Become inspired, to hear transcendental knowledge. So not only is one inspired to serve Krishna by hearing such transcendental knowledge, but one wants to also give it out to others. It's so nice that we want to share it with others. And this will enlighten, inspire others. Just like this lady many months ago, she got a Bhagavad Gita, and she was right. She read the whole book. I forgot, I think she said 8 days. She read the whole Bhagavad Gita. And from that she started chanting Hare Krishna, became a devotee. So this is the power of transcendental knowledge. And then in the same chapter, Krishna, he goes on to say, Shradava labhate jnanam tatpara sangyatindriya. That a faithful person who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who controls the senses attains such knowledge. And upon attaining such knowledge, he attains the highest peace. Now, when you go to universities, you don't come out of there feeling peaceful. More anxiety, actually. Oh yeah, debt. Believe it or not, one student, he told me he had a friend, when he got out of school, he had $1 million debt. I guess he was to be a doctor or something. Incredible debts. So much anxiety. But by hearing this knowledge, we become enlightened, purified, inspired to serve Krishna. Now here in this verse, it's interesting. He says, what then is the ultimate truth? The answer is that non-dual knowledge is the ultimate truth. This is called Advaya, as we hear in the purport. Prabhupada quotes this verse, Vedanti tatu vidas tatu yajnanam Advayam. Advayam means this oneness. So we also lean that way, this Advaita, oneness. And it's mentioned that this Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, they are also one. They're all spirit. But they're also different. As we hear in this purport, Prabhupada mentions the Sadaisvarya, the opulences of Krishna. You don't find them in the Brahman effulgence or in the Paramatma, but they're there in Bhagavan. And what is that? Beauty, wealth, strength, fame, renunciation, knowledge. These are the 6 opulences of Krishna that make him different from the other aspects of the absolute truth. So we're one, but we're also different. Krishna is one in these 3 different aspects, but he's also different. And Lord Chaitanya came up with the perfect philosophy. Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. This is the perfect philosophy. Simultaneously, we're one, but we're different. Just like you take a drop of water from the ocean here, and the quality of the drop is exactly like the whole ocean, but the quantity is a huge difference. So we're one with Krishna in that we have similar qualities. We have this eternality, knowledge, and bliss. But there's a huge, huge difference. Krishna, he is the cause of all causes. What are we the cause of? We cause, just like they have that saying that God, he made the forest, and we made the city. Right? We make a mess. And Krishna, he makes wonderful, beautiful forests. Just like I was just looking at on the map about this Portugal, out in the middle of the Atlantic, where Vijaya Krishna Prabhu lives. Beautiful, beautiful islands there. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. So Krishna makes these beautiful islands and beautiful mountains and beautiful rivers, and just so Krishna is he's very expert at everything he does. So therefore it behooves us to serve Krishna. Now people like to reflect on this oneness, and that we're all one. And this way you can be more peaceful, we're all one in this world together. And they have this one love, right? So, but we can't avoid the difference. There are the differences. And we are one with Krishna. And we want to please Krishna. We want, just like we're all trying to please Krishna here in this Krishna consciousness movement. So, and Prabhupada says, we want to be one with Krishna in desire. We can't become one with Krishna completely in all aspects, but we can become one with Krishna in desire. And what is the desire of Krishna? Krishna comes. Yada yada hidharmasya glanir bhavati. He comes whenever there's a predominant rise of irreligion, a decline in religious practice. He comes. So he tries to change that. He tries to bring people back to the spiritual path, to the devotional path. So if we have that desire to help people in their journey, their spiritual journey, after many, many births, one who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all it is. Such a great soul is very rare. So this is the goal, to engage in devotional service. And gradually, as we surrender more and more to Krishna, we realize that Krishna's mercy is everything. That He is the cause of all causes, that He is the creator of everything, and that we are the servants. And Prabhupada mentions in one purport that a devotee, a sincere devotee, becomes a servant of circumstances. Whatever circumstance we may find ourselves in, we should try to serve Krishna in that way, to the best of our ability. Whatever circumstance. Therefore, Prabhupada used to say, do the needful. Whatever is needed, we do that. We serve Krishna in whatever circumstance we may find ourselves in. And sometimes it may be difficult. Just like we have our Boise boys up there in Boise. It's like 20 degrees up there. Yeah. Mogalita. He's probably never experienced such cold. He's a Southern California boy. So he's up there, it's freezing. But they're continuing the service. They're continuing the service, distributing books and doing preaching up there. So whatever circumstance we find ourselves in, we have to serve Krishna in that way. Do the needful. In this way, we advance very nicely in Krishna consciousness. And then, later on, Krishna, he says, Jnanena tutad ajnanam, yesam nasanam atmana, tesam adityavidjnanam bhakashi tatparam. That when one attains this Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed. Krishna reveals everything to someone who surrenders to Him. What is it? He says, when one is enlightened with knowledge by which ignorance is destroyed, that knowledge reveals everything, as the sun reveals everything in the daytime. Like I go to Australia quite a bit, and at this farm we have, New Govardhan, they don't have any electricity on the farm. I mean, they do on the buildings, they're on the buildings, but if you go away from the buildings, there's no light, at night. If you don't have a sun, you don't have a moon. It's so dark. You could put your hand in front, you can't see it. You can't see your hand in front of your face. Yeah. Then Krishna gives us the sun. And the sun rises. And everything becomes clear. And the sun is such a powerful light that even you may have just a small room with one window, that sun, the light from the sun lights up the whole room. You just have one little window, and the light from the sun comes in and lights up the whole room. It's fascinating, actually. It's amazing. And it's just floating around. Imagine you had a room in your light where it's just, the light's just floating around in your room. So this is Krishna. He creates a light. It just floats around. And we don't have to pay a light bill. Yeah. And then Krishna also gives us so much water in the form of rain. We don't have to pay a water bill. He gives us so many nice things. But actually, devoted people, they give donations to religious organizations. This is how they pay their bill. Yeah. It's like so many devotees, they give donations to the temple here. And I think in church, it's like 10%. Huh? Yeah. 10%. I mean, that's that's a lot of money for some people. And the Muslims also, they give their donations to their religious organization. So this is how we pay our light bill, our water bill, appreciation, some gratitude. So gratitude is so important in our devotional life. He's given us so much. So we show our gratitude to Krishna by engaging in devotional service. This is how we show our gratefulness to Krishna. Now here, in this verse, also this word kabayo is here. The learned scholars. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains how we should think of him. Kavim. Excuse me. Kavim pranam anasasataram anor aniyangsan nusmridya sarvasya dataram achintya rupam adityavarnam tamasa parashtat. That Krishna, this is how we should think of it. This is how God says you should think of me. So it's interesting. Yeah. Makes it easier for it. He makes it easier for us. You know, he tells us, this is how to think of me. Think of me as he who knows everything. Krishna is very intelligent. He knows everything. Vedaham samatichani vartamanani charjana bhavishyami chabutani mumtafeda nikaschana. He says, I know everything that's happened in the past, everything that's going to happen in the future, everything that's happening now, but me, no one knows. So this is God. He knows a lot. What do we know? We know so little, so limited. So Kaving Pranam, he's the oldest person. We're also old. We're eternal. But Krishna, he is the origin of everyone. He's very old, very wise. Anusasataram, that he's the supreme controller. The more we're able to appreciate that Krishna is the supreme controller, the more we'll feel dedicated to serving him. We're also controlling, but Krishna, he is the Paramishvara. Yeah, he's the supreme controller, the cause of all causes. The more we know the greatness of Krishna, the more we'll be inclined to serve him. And therefore, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, hearing and chanting, this is the most important, to hear about Krishna. Yeah. The more we want to hear about Krishna, the more we'll become purified of the false ego, the poison of the false ego. The false ego gives us the idea that we're something important. But the more we hear about Krishna, the more we realize I'm not important at all. I'm very insignificant. One of the big problems excuse me, in the material world is people take themselves too seriously and don't take God serious enough. Yeah. This is the problem because of this false ego. Yeah? So the process of devotional service dissolves the false ego. This notion that we're this body, that we're the enjoyers, we're the proprietors, dissolves the false ego. So Kaving Pranam Anusasatar Anor Aniyangsang. Krishna, he is smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. Sarvasya Dataram Achintya Rupam. Sarvasya Dataram, that he's maintaining everyone. Even the atheists. Krishna is so kind. Even the atheists, he's maintaining them. Everyone. Even sometimes atheists, they become very wealthy. So Krishna is allowing this. So Sarvasya Dataram Achintya Rutam, and he's an inconceivable, as I mentioned earlier, he's an inconceivable personality. Aditya Varnam, and he glows. It's described in the I think Isopanishad. Please, Krishna, remove this glaring effulgence so I can see your form. Yeah? The Brahmajyoti. Yeah? So by the mercy of Krishna we can see him. Otherwise we'll just be blinded by this Brahmajyoti. And Krishna Tamasa Parasat, he's never overcome by ignorance. He's never overcome by the modes of material nature. Whereas ourselves, everyone in this world is overcome by the modes of nature, ignorance, passion, goodness, material goodness. But Krishna, he's always transcendental. So this is the position of Krishna. So on that note, is there any question or comment?
Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful class and your dedicated service to Krishna. I wanted to clarify something you just said about Achintyam, that Krishna, he is unknowable, and to himself as well, because he is always expanding. So isn't the phenomena of Achintya only apply to the ones who are contaminated with material senses, the impermanence of the material senses, that he cannot be known completely due to this limited framework of language, fragrance, or touch available to the impermanent senses? Can you please enlighten us further on that? How he is expanding further and why he is unknowable to himself?
Well, it's described that Krishna, he's always expanding himself. His glories, just like it's described that the scientists, they may be able to count all the atoms in the universe, but they will not be able to count the glories of Krishna. So that gives you an idea. I mean, how many atoms can there be? I mean, there's like a lot of atoms in the universe. But even they're able to count all of them, they'll not come to the end of the glories of Krishna. So just to give you an idea of how glorious Krishna is. So even though someone may be a pure devotee, even they can't understand the glories of Krishna. Even Krishna, he is the purest. And he's trying to understand himself, but he can't, because he's always increasing. This is another inconceivable, achintya aspect of Krishna. We can't understand the greatness of Krishna. But that's a nice thing to know about Krishna, that he's so great that we cannot come to the end of his glories. It's a nice thing to know about, that our Lord is so great that no one can come to an understanding of his greatness. Yes, Raj.
I got a comment and a question.
Mm-hmm.
You said transcendental knowledge is one that has non-duality in its awareness. So would that mean in that state of transcendental knowledge you wouldn't have the concept of Maya?
Okay, now you're going to have to speak a little louder. Okay, go ahead.
Transcendental knowledge, you said, is non-duality in its capabilities. Does that mean in awareness of transcendental knowledge there's no Maya world and regular world? Is it aware of all things as one? or does it still distinguish from the Maya, which we should see as irrelevant? And the
Well, he's
spiritual
aware of everything, non-dual, the Dvaita and Advaita. The Dvaita, the duality, he's aware of the dualities and of the oneness. So what's the exact one?
So the question would be that the things happen in the Maya world, would it still also be part of the spiritual world? Would it not have a distinction? That means it takes the Maya world, yes, that's important, because it affects the spiritual world in the transcendental state of knowledge.
Well, the difference between this world, the Maya world, and the spiritual world is in the spiritual world, there's no illusion. There is no, just like there's Yoga Maya. In the spiritual world, there's Yoga Maya, where they don't understand that Krishna's God. Here, it's Mahamaya. They also don't understand Krishna's God, but they think they are God, and they want to be the enjoyer and the proprietor. So what's kind of interesting is that in the spiritual world, they're pure devotees, but they don't understand Krishna's God. So that's Yoga Maya. They're in Maya. Here, people are in Maya. They're in illusion, thinking that they're the material body. In Vaikuntha, they're also in Maya. They're thinking that Vishnu is the supreme, but Krishna is the supreme. So everywhere, everyone is in some type of Maya. But the Maya that we want is the Maya that's there in the spiritual world, where there is an understanding that they're the servants of Krishna, and they have different relationships with Krishna. But Krishna is so pleased with them that he covers up their knowledge of him as being supreme, so they can have loving relationships. So this is the Maya that we want.
Thank you. I also have one more question. You said one cannot obtain knowledge or has to get it from an authorized source. How does one that's stuck in Maya verify that this person that's authorized is capable of transferring that knowledge to them if they're stuck in Maya, not aware of it?
Very good question. You feel a change in your heart. It's a very good question, because we're in Maya and we're trying to understand the absolute truth, but we're in Maya, how can we understand what the absolute truth is if we're contaminated, if we're in illusion? We have a change in heart, and we become very happy, satisfied by following. Just like when I read the Bhagavad Gita, I was in Maya. But upon reading the Bhagavad Gita, I thought, wait a second, this is transcendental. This is the highest knowledge. So somehow, by the mercy of Krishna, we're able to, although someone may be in Maya, one is able to understand that this is the highest truth, by the mercy of Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Dravida has something to say. Please.
I'm just referencing the purport to the 1 through 11, which is quoted in the purport here, Vedanti Tattva Vidasana Jnanam Advayam.
Yeah.
And in the purport here, Prabhupada, he deals with this subject of the non-dual. What's the non-dual knowledge? And I'll just read one or two sentences here. In the relative world, the knower is different from the known. This is a way of understanding duality here. But in the absolute truth, both the knower and the known are one and the same thing. In the relative world, the knower is the living spirit or superior energy, whereas the known is inert matter or inferior energy. Therefore, there is a duality of inferior and superior energy, whereas in the absolute realm, both the knower and the known are of the same superior energy. So that in that way, the transcendental realm is non-dual knowledge, is that everything is of the same quality. And even in this realm, if one becomes fully realized, he sees, as Prabhupada said, he saw everything as spiritual, because even the material energy is still emanating from the Lord, so it's his energy. And when it's used in his service, then it retains its spiritual energy. Like this is not ordinary stone. This is the deity. It's fully spiritual. So in that way, the non-duality is one way of understanding non-duality. And just one real quick comment about you quoted from the Isha Upanishad. You didn't quote the Sanskrit, but Hiranmayena Patrena.
Yeah.
Please remove that. And it's a small thing, but it's interesting. Is that you said, please show me your form, that I can see. But actually, the verse says, Mukam, show me your face. There's an increase in intimacy, the form, the face, the smile. So even the Isha Upanishad, this is why Prabhupada gave us the Isha Upanishad, because it's about the Isha, and it culminates in a very personal relation there. So please remove your effulgence so I can see your face.
Thank you.
Dhanavari.
Dhanavari, you can speak now.
Huh?
I guess the...
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Hare
yeah,
Krishna.
yeah, we hear you.
Okay, thank you. My question is, when you, Prabhu, mentioned that in spiritual world also they are in Maya, and that related to that because they are not, they think Vishnu Bhagavan is the supreme. So my question is, in books and Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada writes, and we say Vishnu Bhakti Pradesh Devi Satya. So Prabhupada said, Vishnu also, Vishnu Bhakti is essential. So many words he write Vishnu, and we as a Radha, when we come, we don't worship as a like Radha Girdhari, like new devotees as a Lakshmi Narayan. So why is it not the spiritual? They are in Maya and Vishnu. Would you please talk about it? I'm confused. Thank you.
In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Mata paratran nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya, that there's no truth superior to me. Everything is resting on me as pearls are strung on a thread. So Lord Vishnu never said that. And also Krishna says, Ahang sarvasya prabhavo, that I'm the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Everything is emanating from me. So all spirit, everything is coming from Krishna. And also in the Vedas, it's said that there's 4 things that are there in Krishna, but not in Vishnu. And that is Krishna, he has his amazing, wonderful devotees, different relationships. You see, with Vishnu, it's only awe and reverence. With Krishna, there's many other relationships that one can have, with friendship and conjugal and parental, like that. And so the flute, and then the beauty of Krishna, the pastimes, and the friends. So these are this won't be found in Lord Vishnu. Although, as Prabhupada said, they're with the same family. The Lord Vishnu, he's God also, and we don't deride anybody if someone's worshiping Lord Vishnu. We encourage them. Just like if someone is worshiping God in any aspect, Christianity or Muslim, we encourage them, in their service. And this reminds me of a couple of book distribution pastimes. Are we too late? No, we can. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu, very nice question. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
So there was a devotee.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vijaya Krishna Prabhu. I was just looking up your islands there on the map yesterday. Beautiful islands. I was wondering if you don't ask me asking you a question before you ask me a question. How many devotees live on the island where you live?
Oh my God. Prabhu, the question to such an answer is as follows. I dare to say it. Even the microbes, which are there living in the air, which we cannot see through naked eyes, are devotees, are servants of Lord Chaitanya.
You're very broad-minded.
Yes, I'm a very broad-minded practitioner. But I have a question. May I?
Yes.
Prabhu, in relation to the translation, if Jadabharati is explaining what is the ultimate truth, so if I am not connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is presented by Jadabharati in this verse as the ultimate truth, is it that I become no better than a liar?
No better than a liar? You'll have to explain this.
Well, because the opposite of being truthful is being a liar, no?
So, are you talking about the first sentence? Where are you referring to?
Well, the first sentence is, what then is the ultimate truth? So this explanation given by Jadabharata is related to being truthful, no?
Yes.
And if I am not being truthful, I am being the opposite. I am being a liar.
If you claim to know the truth, and you don't tell the truth, then you're a liar.
But then the truth that I need to speak, it must be related always by the second to the ultimate truth, Lord Krishna. Yes or no?
Dravid is waiting to answer this.
All right. What then is the ultimate truth? The answer is that non-dual knowledge is the ultimate truth. Now, if you're not steeped in that non-dual knowledge, if you're not living it and you don't understand the non-dual knowledge, which ultimately is Krishna, doesn't mean you're a liar. If you admit that you don't know and you want to know, then you're a seeker. But if you pretend to know the absolute truth and you say, as Prabhupada would often quote and mentioned in this purport, the ultimate truth is not Krishna, the person, but what's inside of Krishna, the
unborn within.
Yeah, the unborn within. That's an ignorant person who's pretending. That's the cheating propensity. So that's where the lying comes in. When you claim to know the absolute truth, but you're giving something else, then you're not only a liar, but you're a cheater. But if you don't know the absolute truth and you go take steps to learn it, then you're sincere. You understand? So
yes, completely, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
So I'll tell the Sankirtan stories next time. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.